After a long and exhausting work week, I headed to the bar with my colleagues, hoping to unwind. It was our usual spot, just a few blocks away, where the drinks were always cold and the atmosphere relaxed. For a few hours, I just wanted to forget the stress of the job. I never expected the night to take the turn it did. The moment I stepped inside, my breath caught in my throat. Across the room, in the dim glow of neon lights, stood Emma, my wife of 5 years. She wasn't alone. She was surrounded by a group of men, their laughter ringing through the air as they leaned in close to her. A knot formed in my stomach as I watched, disbelief coursing through me. Then I saw it, her hand resting against one of the men's chests, while his own fingers hovered dangerously close to her waist. The sight sent a chill through me. My entire body tensed, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. She wasn't pulling away. She wasn't resisting. She was enjoying it. For a second, the world around me blurred. The voices, the music, everything faded. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. Then, as if sensing my presence, Emma's gaze met mine. The smile she had worn just moments before faltered, but only briefly. Before I could react, one of the men, a tall, cocky-looking bastard, placed his hand on her ass. Something inside me snapped. A fire ignited in my veins, pure rage coursing through me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. After everything we had been through, after all the love and trust we had built, this was how she repaid me? Without thinking, I moved forward, my surroundings becoming a blur. My colleagues called after me, but their voices barely registered. The only thing I could focus on was her. I shoved the man aside, my hands trembling with fury. My voice was sharp, cutting through the noise of the bar. You're acting like a cheap whore. I'm disgusted to even look at you. A flicker of guilt flashed across Emma's face, but it was gone just as fast. She parted her lips as if to respond, but I wasn't finished. What the hell is wrong with you? Is this how you repay me? Her eyes darted between me and the man she had been with, hesitation written all over her face. But before she could utter a word, the guy I had pushed forward again, his face twisted with anger. Relax, man. It's just dancing. You don't own her, he sneered. That was all it took. The last thread of my restraint snapped. Without warning, he lunged at me. I barely saw him coming. 1 second, I was standing there, seething with rage, and the next, his fist crashed into my face. Everything went dark. When I finally regained consciousness, a pounding headache greeted me. A sharp, metallic taste lingered in my mouth, and my vision swam as I tried to make sense of where I was. The room spun around me, and for a moment, I couldn't tell if I was still at the bar. But as the blur cleared, I realized I was somewhere else entirely, a hospital room. Glancing down, I saw my shirt, stained deep red with my own blood. My stomach twisted at the sight. The pain in my side was a dull, gnawing sensation, a reminder of what had happened. I had been stabbed. The doctors had stitched me up, kept me breathing. Just barely, but surviving the wound wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was the truth that came crashing down on me like a landslide. The betrayal I had witnessed wasn't misunderstanding. It wasn't some momentary lapse in judgment. Emma, the woman I had shared my life with, the woman I had trusted beyond reason, had done this, and not just with some stranger. No, it was her co-worker, the same bastard who had attacked me. He had the audacity to charge at me with a knife, and I had the scar to prove it. I sat there in that hospital bed, playing the night over and over in my mind. I kept seeing her face, the way her smile faded when she saw me, the way she barely reacted when I shoved that man aside. There had been no apology, no panic, no desperate attempt to explain. She hadn't defended me. She hadn't even cared. Instead, she had looked at me as if I were nothing more than an inconvenience, an obstacle in the way of whatever twisted fun she was having. That was when it truly hit me. It wasn't just the affair. It wasn't just the way she touched and flirted with another man right in front of me. It wasn't even the fact that she had shattered everything we built. It was her complete indifference. She didn't care that she had betrayed me. She didn't care that I was bleeding on the floor because of her choices. She wasn't even ashamed. This was just another night for her. I clenched my fists, letting the anger surge through me. And at that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg for an explanation. I wasn't going to plead for her love. I wasn't going to waste another second wondering why she did it. No, she was going to regret it, not just for cheating on me, but for thinking she could walk all over me without facing the consequences. By the time I was discharged from the hospital, my mind was already set. I wouldn't confront her immediately. No, I was going to strike where it hurt the most. I knew Emma inside and out. I knew how she thought, what she valued, what she feared. And I was going to dismantle her world piece by piece. The first move? Regaining control. I spent the next few days in complete silence. I told no one, not my friends, not my family. I kept my anger contained, working behind the scenes. The first thing I did was cut her off financially. I froze our joint accounts, making sure she had no access to a single dime. She wouldn't get to enjoy the life she thought she still had control over. The second move? Exposure. She wasn't going to walk away from this unscathed. She wasn't going to pretend nothing had happened. I was going to ensure she felt the full weight of her actions. A few days later, she finally came home. The moment she stepped through the door, I saw it, guilt etched across her face. She stood still, watching me carefully, as if trying to gauge my reaction. "John," she murmured, her voice soft, almost hesitant. She was trying to sound like the woman I once knew, but I wasn't falling for it. I let the silence stretch, making her feel every unbearable second of it. Then, in a voice calm and steady, I said the words that would change everything. "We're done." Her eyes widened, her lips trembling. "What do you mean, we're done?" she asked, her voice rising in desperation. "I never wanted to hurt you. I made a mistake. We can fix this, okay? Please, let's fix this." I shook my head. My voice remained firm, unwavering. "No, you made your choice. Now you live with it." But I wasn't finished. This was just the beginning. I had the upper hand now. The first strike had landed. And soon, the real fallout would begin. Silence hung thick between us, heavy with all the words left unspoken. Emma stared at me, her expression shifting between disbelief, panic, and something else. Something deeper. Shame, guilt, maybe even a hint of regret. But it was too late for that. "John, please," she whispered, stepping forward. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I never wanted to hurt you." Her voice cracked, but it didn't move me. This wasn't about her emotions. This wasn't some accidental slip-up. This was calculated. And now, she was about to face the consequences. I turned away without another word, walking toward the living room. The game had only just begun. I couldn't bear to look at her any longer. Not after everything. "How long?" My voice was devoid of any emotion. She hesitated, then murmured, barely above a whisper, "A few months." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. Months. She had been lying to my face for months, carrying on this double life while I was out working, providing for us, doing everything I could to make her happy. And not once did you stop to think about me, about us. My voice was low, sharp, cutting through the silence like a blade. Emma's face crumpled, and she collapsed onto the couch, burying her head in her hands. She couldn't even try to defend herself, because there was no defense. But at that moment, I didn't need an answer. I had already made my decision. There was no room for apologies. Not this time. In the days that followed, she kept calling, texting, even showing up at the house. But I refused to let her in. I had already put my plan into motion, and nothing was going to stop me now. The first step was the hardest, but also the most crucial. I cut her off financially. Every shared account, frozen. Every dollar, under my control. If she wanted access to anything, she'd have to crawl for it. Her safety net, gone. I watched as she scrambled. Her first call was to her parents, her voice shaking as she begged for help. But I knew they wouldn't step in, not after what she'd done. Then came the real blow. I had gathered everything. The texts, the hotel receipts, the damning video of her and her so-called lover. And I knew exactly where to send them. Her boss. The man had always carried himself with professionalism and respect, and I knew this kind of betrayal wouldn't sit well with him. The moment he saw the proof, he was livid. Within hours, Emma was called into his office and fired. I didn't even have to tell her. By the time she showed up at my door, the damage had already been done. Her face was streaked with tears, her voice trembling. "Please," she whispered. "I never meant for things to get this far." I was confused. I stared at her, unimpressed. "You lost your job, Emma," I said coldly. "What now? Running back to him?" She paled. "John," her voice cracked, "I don't know what to do. Please, help me." But I wasn't her savior. Not anymore. I had one final move left. I had made sure her affair was exposed to those who mattered, but I wasn't done. It was time for her lover, David, to face the music. I sent him a package. Inside, I laid out everything. Proof of their affair, every message, every stolen moment. And just to twist the knife, I included a picture of him at a work event with his wife. I didn't just send it to him. His wife got a copy, too. The fallout was immediate. The next day, his wife filed for divorce. Rumors spread that his job was on the line. He had lost everything, just like Emma. And me? I walked away. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I deserved peace. Emma had thought she could break me, that I would beg for her forgiveness. Instead, she had destroyed herself. And I was finally free.